Welcome to Fact or Freestyle.
People love Dave Nourie, and they always answer the phone when he calls. When we get him on Zoom, we ask him to confirm rumors.
Let's see how far down the rabbit hole we go.
Freestyle with anybody really, and told stories, or it's everything I'm trying to remember from back in the past, and it's kind of neat.
Tell the story about the van, because
Fact or Freestyle, Ron Wilkerson rolled a van that Rick Molinterno rented. Dave Nourie walked the walls as it rolled. Josh White watched a 40-pound toolbox tumble the whole time. DMC made a rap song about it.
You were there. You mentioned it. The kid wrote about it. So if he ever gets to watch this episode, it'd be great to hear that story from Josh White.
Yeah, there was a bunch of us, Dennis McCoy and Ron, and I can't remember who else was in there. There was it wasn't that many. It was, 6 or 7 people probably. And then Ron was just messing around. He was swerving back and forth, just being a maniac, like we all were. And somehow the van just rolled. He wasn't trying to avoid anything. He was just being a maniac, and the van just rolled, and we all just tumbled around inside. I remember there was a toolbox in the back, and it was full of tools, and those, toolbox, weighs 40, 50 pounds. I mean, they were heavy, and that could have killed somebody. And I remember that toolbox banging around inside that van as we were rolling down the road. And if that would have hit one of us in the head, we would have been done. That was the most dangerous. And of course, nobody was wearing seatbelts. That's back before anybody cared about seatbelts. So the fact that nobody got seriously hurt, I think, was great. And that I was pretty upset at Ron, though. I was like, dude, I don't think I didn't really say anything to him, but I thought that was pretty irresponsible. I was not happy. And I remember Dennis McCoy getting out thinking that was the greatest thing in the world. He was like, dude, that was awesome. Let's do it again. Yeah. I'm like, dude, he even made up like a freestyle rap afterwards.
Yeah, I remember him rapping.
We were going downtown. Then before we knew it, things were going round and round. And he was just like rapping about it. I was like, dude, what? Are you a maniac or something? We almost done.
Yeah, that's totally class.
He's a man. But yeah, good times, right? Yeah.
So awesome. But hang on, Dave, weren't you in a very similar rolling accident where you walked around the van in the Harrow tour?
It's the same van. I was in there too.
Oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah. So Josh, I just would like to hear your version, because I wanted to compare it. So here's what I remember. So me and Joe Johnson were in the back with the toolbox. Okay.
Oh God.
And I had just said to Joe, like, this is going to be crazy. Ron's a maniac. That's the last words that I came out of my mouth. And what Wilkerson would do is they would do e-brake slides. So this van was a brand new 88 van. Rick Molinterno wasn't in the van, but he rented it because Ron wasn't over 25 and Molinterno was the only one that was over 25. So it was under his name. And Wilkerson was practicing his e-brake slides, and he was coming into a parking lot. And this was at the time when the parking lot was filled with riders practicing for the competition. So there was probably 20, 30 kids out there riding. Here comes this van squealing around it was from the highway. So off the highway into the parking lot. And we just clipped the curb just enough to tilt us over in like slow motion. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I turn sideways and I put my hands on the side and I flip, and I don't even go upside down. I literally walk around. And Dominguez was in the front seat. He was the first one to get out, and I was the second, but I was in the back, and I ran all the way out. And Chris Darcy was there as well. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there was a pretty good group of riders in there. I think it was more like 8 riders total.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
so Dave, I heard Blythe on a podcast. I can't remember what podcast it was. It was years ago, I think. And he tells the story of the van rolling, the toolbox flying, everybody rolling around, and his memory is you just casually walking round, as the band's rolling.
Yeah, I literally
you're just standing up, walking around the van as it's rolling.
I don't know.
Anybody could.
I don't know how it came to be, but I just walked it out. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And
Of
then
course you did.
the best part of the story is that Wilkerson, so DMC is rapping, right? And he's like, oh, and the four wheels ended upside down in the air. And like, you just don't care. It's Ron Wilkerson. He's there. He's got this whole rap going, right? And this, everyone's just like freaking out. And Ron's going, we swerved to miss a dog. That's the story. We swerved to miss a dog. That's the story. They didn't buy it. He had to pay for that.
Swerved to the dog.
Yep, I remember that. We swerved to miss a dog. I remember that. Yep.
Classic.
Wow.
All right, guys. So I think we're about wrapping up. We've taken a lot of your time. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share, Joe. What else did we have anything else? Just like thank you, our sponsors. Kids, continue to write your letters in. You can give all your questions to Josh White, James White, or Shawn White, and we'll make sure to get your questions answered. What else did you have for us, Joe?
If I ever get a real letter through the letterbox, I'll be blown away.
We're gonna bring it back.
You bring letters back.
All right. So I got an email. I got another email.
Good. Share, please share.
All right. Hello, Factor Freestyle. I love your show, especially the one with Pete Augustin. He's such a badass. Really think it's important to share stories, have fun. Well, I spend most of my time writing at Changa World in Cleveland. And I'm super lucky because the owner, either the owner or the owner's dad, always answers questions about BMX. The one thing I'm not clear and hope you clear up, especially since Dave is originally from San Diego, on the 23 Mag site, it says a decade is called a decade because it took the inventor, Fred Blood, 10 days to learn. But it also says Dean Palacio invented it, but called it the inverted boomerang. Scott from Changa says it was Dean who actually invented it. Seems like the decade is an important trick. Scott talks me. What is he? Scott tells me about decades every time I come in there. And he says that it's actually the most important trick in history that everyone has to have right. Anyway, thank you, Leon. So this is the Dean. I actually have another thing about Dean Palacio, but yeah. So what is the story with this? Do you guys have any input on?
Fact or freestyle? Fred Blood invented the decade after trying it for exactly 10 days.
Fred Blood in the decade and Dean Palacio on the decade, like who invented it first, or like who gets claiming rights on it?
Everybody down here says Dean. I met Dean, and I always ask him, do a decade, and he doesn't. But everybody says it was Dean over Fred. Fred got the coverage, but yeah, Dean did it. Right, Dave?
I say so. So, and here's what I have credit for Dean. Because like Dean, okay, so here's an interesting story. Josh, going back to that first contest that you were at, it was my first contest as a novice, and I was riding a Skyway TA, and I was doing a lot of balance tricks, and I was nervous as hell. And
that's a good bike.
Yeah, it was a great bike. It's the Dirt Brothers bike. And so
fact or freestyle? Dean Palacios debuted what's known as the Nourie handstand in his run 25 minutes before Dave also debuted it in his run.
I had my balance tricks, and my big trick was the Nourie handstand. Like no one else was doing that. That was my trick that I claimed. Well, Dean Palacio was in my class. He was a ramp rider, but he also did Flatland. And I don't even know if he did the decade at this point. I think it was pre-decade. I'm pretty sure. And so he went out there and he freaking did a Nourie handstand before my run. And I was so bummed. I was like, oh my gosh, like maybe I didn't make this trick up. I'm like, I'm going to look like I've stole it. So for 25 years, I've had this guilt that I've been riding the coattails of the Nourie handstand. It's in BMX Plus. I'm pulling the Fred Blood. I don't want to be the Fred Blood of the Nourie handstand. So I know. See, Shawn? So Dean, we had Dean on the show, and I kind of like it was a little hard for me to go there because I'm like, Dean, like I feel bad because you got Jenks 2 times. Like first the decade, he called it the inverted boomerang. And he said something about that AFA wouldn't let you do anything inverted, which is kind of crazy, but I never heard that. But then I said, yeah, so, you know, you did the Nourie handstand, or you did the handstand, Palacio handstand, before I actually did that. So we got to go back and change all those magazines and cross out Nourie handstand and put Palacio handstand. And he's like, no, dude, that was you. I saw you do it. I just got it down, you know, and I put it in my run. So I was relieved, to say the least, but I still feel like Dean got that short end of the stick with the whole decade.
Dude, if I had to give you a nickel for every time I did a Nourie handstand, you'd probably have like $65.75 so far. I mean, I've done the shit out of that trick. That's hysterical. Wow. I can't believe that you thought Dean did that before you. That's crazy.
He got in the magazine as well. So that kind of brings up a question. What do you guys think? If someone going back to like the 900, Dominguez did a 900 apparently on his own ramp, but no one filmed it, right? But Matt Hoffman did it first in a contest. So, I mean, Dean could take credit. Like if he was the kind of rider that would say, look, I did it in the contest first, who's to say?
But I'm not at this point going to say a Pulaski stand, dude. And I'm not going to say a Jose flip either.
You're not going to say a Jose whip?
No, Jose whip or back Jose or whatever the fuck it is. I'm not saying none of them. Wow. Could you imagine a Pulaski stand? No. Decade, you know, that should be a Pulaski. But, man, it's funny that I've seen that dude a couple times, you know, and he's a small little dude still on a bike, and I always am like, dude, do a decade. Holy shit, like you did it. But maybe the pressure but I've seen him on a couple rides, and I'm always shocked, you know. I'm always shocked. But
how about you, Josh? Do you have any tricks that you got that you stole or that you claimed that were someone else's? I mean, this is the time to come clean. This is your opportunity.
No, I've never claimed anything. I mean, some people ask me if I invented the 540. I'm like, well, as far as I know, I did it before I ever heard of anybody else doing it. But does that mean I invented it? Right. Not really. I invented it for myself. You know, somebody across the world could have been doing the same thing. So I think I might have been the first person to do it in a contest, maybe at the Venice Beach AFA contest. I did it, but I don't know. I mean, who knows? It's hard for me to say. But 540, I have was pretty early on in that trick. I mean, the only reason I did a 540, I couldn't do a 360, and I stole the 360 from Andy Patterson, because he had a photo shoot in a BMX Plus or something doing a 360 on a quarter pipe, and he was a racer, and I was like, oh my god, that is badass, and I couldn't do it, and so I said it'll be easier if I just go one more 180, and so I did, and then so that was me inventing the 540. Everything I did was a variation of what somebody else did. I saw Mike Dominguez do a can-can, so okay, I'm going to do a no-footed can-can. If somebody did a no-footed can-can, okay, I'm going to do no-footed one-handed can-can. I just wanted to expand on whatever somebody else was doing. It seemed like I didn't have a lot of original tricks. No-footed X-up, maybe a Grizz-Air, but is that really original? I mean, just pulling the bike up, I don't know. I didn't really have a lot of original stuff, but I just tried to add style to everything.
Josh, your can-can look backs, insane, dude. Yeah. Like I was watching those. Yeah, it came up a couple weeks ago, and I was like, how does that even happen? So, respect. Those were insane.
Yeah.
And James, how many tricks have you stolen? Come on, this is the time.
I steal everything. Everything is stolen. At 100%. If I see a trick and I think it's fun, I'm going to go out and do it. I don't care. I do not fucking care. I go out, if I see something that I think, oh, you know what, that looks fun, I'm going to go out and do it. And that is always roads. The only thing is wrong is if you take that trick and then you say, that's my trick, and you sell it and say, I've got a new trick. I will copy everybody. I don't care. I've done it the other day. I was riding with Amos, and he come out and he done a trick. I went, oh man, that looks rad. And I went straight out like he literally done it in front of me, and I went out and tried to copy it straight there in front of him. No issue. There's no issue. He knows I'm not going to flipping take that and say, yes, you know, if I'd done that and then put it up and said, look at my new trick, that's where it goes wrong, and that's where it's bad. But I steal everything, and I just have fun with it, and then I'll create my own stuff with it.
Okay.
And that's how I've always been. Even going back, I've got Dylan Worsley, obviously, now a USA citizen.
Kiwi.
Going back to the really early 90s, I think this is like probably 90 or 91. He is doing he's learning turbine cliffhangers, right? So cliffhangers was quite new-ish at that time, and he's turbining them. Like, this is really early, and I'm sure he invented the turbine cliffhangers. So anyway, so I thought, oh man, I could do backwards cliffhangers and I can do forwards cliffhangers. I'm having that, like not like stealing it from him, but that looks fun. I'm going to learn that. And I started learning it in front of him, exactly the same as I've always done. But he got, he got a little bit, pissed about it, and I didn't really understand that at the time. Because I just thought, because that's how we rode with each other. We done each other's tricks. I was never ever going to steal it and go, I've invented the turbine cliffhanger or anything.
You beat him to it.
But that is how I've always rode, and I don't care. You do. That's how this shit evolves, is by doing other people's stuff and just adding your bit on it and your
Absolutely.
thing. And hopefully.
So what about
hopefully, but that I'm not that guy that takes somebody's tricks. But yeah.
What were you saying, Joe?
That's it.
So James, what about ant riders? Who did you steal that from?